Hey Bookish Babes, and welcome to my book nook. For those that are new around here, the name's Rainy Barton. I teach elementary music and middle school theater, and I also read tons of books. Thriller and horror, sci-fi and fantasy, romance, nonfiction, mystery, all the different things. So if you're interested in that, please like and subscribe to my channel down below. It really helps my channel grow. Today's video is going to be my May wrap-up, which was my best reading month yet. I read 24 books, and that is insane for me. Insane. Now, it was because I'm not on school right now, and I'm on maternity leave, and yes, I did this all with a newborn, and I will explain my ways. Basically, every time I pumped or had to feed her or things, I read. And even when I didn't have to, I read. I just wanted to read, and I had a lot of books to read, so you're going to see it in this video. I do want to say though, so before we get to what I actually read, I'm going to do my stats like normal. I'm going to talk about all the stats that I have for May, and then this is actually going to be my vlog. It was a vlog style wrap up because I learned that I hate doing wrap ups and talking about books on end. I just don't know why. I don't like wrap-ups. So I did this vlog. Basically, after I finished every book, I jumped on the camera and said 1 or 2 minute clip about it, and that's what you're going to see for the rest of this. So sometimes I'm in my car, sometimes I'm at my friend's house, sometimes I'm at my parents' house, sometimes I'm sitting here. I tried to mix it up, just basically when I finished the book. And if you like that, let me know at the end, because I liked it. So we're going to try and rock and roll with that from here on out. But we'll see. Live and learn, of course. But for now, we're going to start with my stats because we always do my stats. So I'm going to pull them up, make sure I don't forget any. And here we go. So in May, like I said, I read 24 books. Now, technically, I had 2 DNFs, but I count them as read because I got over 50% with each of them. With one of them, I got to 70%, and one of them I got to 60%. So I guess technically 22, but I'm counting it as 24. Pages read, 7,914. Hours listened, 81.53. That is insane. That is insane. Average rating was a 4.26, so I had a killer reading month. I mean, I read probably 3 or 4 books that are going to be in my top books of the year, and some that might be top books ever. We gonna get there, okay? And then I acquired 24 books this month. Yeah, I bought a lot of books. Let's not talk about it. A quarterly book haul is coming at the end of June. I had 2 DNFs, I said already. I started 8 series. It was the time of series, so we'll talk about that in a minute. And I had only 3 diverse reads, and we will talk about that in a bit as well. As far as the source goes, I had 19 that were a mixture of audio and physical. I love listening to audio and having the physical in front of me. I read 3 physically. I read 1 as an ebook. The format was 23 novels and 1 novella. The audience was 20 adult books and 3 YA books. Or actually, it's 4 YA books. I don't know why it says 3, because I read 24 books. I don't know why it's doing that. As far as the ratings go, I had 1 2-star, 1 2.5 star, 1 3-star, 1 3.5 star, 6 4 stars, 1 4.5 star, and 10 5 stars, and then 2 non-rated. Although I did actually rate the 70% one. I didn't rate the other. But 10 5 stars, y'all. It was a good month. Fabulous. For my genres, fantasy was my highest one. I read 7 fantasy. I'm getting in my fantasy romance era. And then I read 4 horror, 7 romance, and 5 thriller. Like I said, I'm turning into a fantasy romance girly. What am I gonna say? For my author stats, I read from 5 authors that I've read from before. Ashley Herring Blake, Sarah J. Maas, Sarah Gailey, Jessa Hastings, Emily Henry. There were 13 new to me this month. Craig DeLuey, Carissa Broadbank, Kate Alice Marshall, Rebecca Yaros, Holly Jackson, Taylor Adams, Johnny Compton, Kate Stewart, Daphne Perry, Emily McIntyre, Harper L. Woods, Jennifer Hartman, and Crystal Sutherland. And 4 debut authors, Ashley Flowers, Travis Baldry, Amber and Danielle Brown, and Sue Lynn Tan. And then as far as series stats go, I caught up on the Bright Fall series because I read the second book. What is it called? Astrid Parker Doesn't Fall. And the 3rd book, Iris Kelly Doesn't Date, comes out in November, but I'm caught up on that. I started the Crowns of Nyaxia series. That is the Serpent and the Wings of Night, and I continued on with it with 6 Scorched Roses. I continued my Throne of Glass journey. I just read Throne of Glass. Now I'm on to Crown of Midnight. I continued with Magnolia Parks. I just finished Daisy Haites, so now I'm on Magnolia Parks, the 3rd book, The Long Way Home. I started 4th Wing. Fabulous. We'll get there. I started the Ravenhood series by Kate Stewart, so I read The Flock. I'm currently reading Exodus. I might be doing a reading vlog on that. Who knows? Wink, wink. I started The Edens by reading Indigo Ridge by Daphne Perry. I started Coven of Bones, the first book in a duology, I believe, by Harper L. Woods. I started the Never After series, which is like Hooked, Scarred, Twisted, all those by Emily McIntyre. And I started and DNF'd the Celestial Kingdom series, which is the Daughter of the Moon Goddess duology. My goodness. For the years that I read 8 from 2023, 10 from 2022, 3 from 2021, 1 from 2020, and 1 from 2012. So I am prioritizing those newer reads, of course. The books that I read from, 2 were from KU, 3 were from the library, and 18 were owned. So I'm starting to go up on my library one. That's good, right? One can hope. And then for fun, color covers go 6 black, 3 blue, 1 brown, 3 green, 3 gray, 2 pink, 2 purple, 1 red, 1 white, 1 yellow. And then I'm sad to say I only read from 3 diverse authors, Amber and Danielle Brown for Someone Had to Do It, Johnny Compton for The Spite House, and Sue Lynn Tan for Daughter of the Moon Goddess. And what's sadder is that 2 out of the 3 of them are the books I DNF'd. Oh, that hurts my heart to look at. We're not going to look at it anymore. We're going to go away from this. Now, I will say within this vlog, you are not going to see which books, you'll find out which books are my favorite. I'm going to say it at the end of this clip. Like, I'm going to shoot to my ending now. But it was a fabulous reading month. And I hope you love the vloggy clips that you see. So let's proceed to when I read all of these books. Editing Rainy here to say that I read a bunch of these books for vlogs that you should go watch on my channel. So let's talk about the books that I read for which vlogs. I had an anticipated thriller and romances new release vlogs, and in that I read You Shouldn't Have Come Here by Geneva Rose, which I technically read in April. I read Astrid Parker Doesn't Fail, episode 13, and What Lies in the Woods. So if you want my much more in-depth thoughts on all of those new anticipated thriller and release reads, go check out that vlog. I'll link it underneath here. I also did a fantasy romance vlog where I read fantasy romance books for the first time. I read Serpent in the Wings of Night and Fourth Wing, 2 of my favorite books of the month. So definitely check out that vlog. I also did a 72 hours in the Smut Den readathon vlog where I read 4 different books. I read Indigo Ridge by Devney Perry. I read The Coven by Harper L. Woods. I read Hooked by Emily McIntyre and Still Beating by Jennifer Hartman. So if you want to see that vlog as well, check all those out. I'll link underneath here for all of them. Back to regularly scheduled programming. Hello, don't worry, if it's a red light, I'm looking at you. Okay, episode 13, first book of the month that I finished. Technically, it should have been an April read because I finished like 56% of it in April, but you know, we're counting it for May. It was a 2-star. We are starting off our wrap-ups with a 2-star. Why was it a 2-star? Well, the audiobook is like a 4-star. The story itself is a 2-star. It was very boring. The only parts I really enjoyed was when they were actually having active experiences with ghosts. But then they included so much other stuff that was not active experiences with ghosts. It was just like them journaling, like waiting for ghosts. And that just didn't interest me even a little bit. So I just couldn't be bothered with it. There was a lot of it that I couldn't vibe with, that I was just not interested in, unfortunately. And it was just really boring. And I didn't understand part of what I was reading. And I should have DNF'd it, quite honestly. But I just wanted to finish it. Also, it's like a 440-page book. I wanted the page count. But I read it. It is what it is, and I did not love it. So I would not categorize this as most disappointing because I went in thinking I was not going to love it. So I would just say it was one of my least favorite reads of the year. Or not of the year, just of the year, yes, but least favorite books I read for May because I don't assume I'm going to have worse than 2-star, but who knows. Hello friends, I'm currently waiting for my son to get out of school. I got here a little early because the preschool spots are very hard to come by for parking. And I'm really hoping that nobody shows up next to me while I'm filming because I do work here, so people know me. Anyway, let's do an update on All Good People Are Here because I just finished that one last night. And I don't know how to feel about this. So in this wrap-up, this vlog wrap-up style, if I didn't read it in a specific vlog, then I'll probably tell you a little bit more about it. And so since I didn't read this for any vlog, I was planning on doing it in my anticipated reads vlog, but then I kind of just read through it and flew through it and did an update. I'll do it here. So this one is basically just it's 100% a ripoff of JonBenet Ramsey murder case. So if you know that case, it is literally, okay, there's people right next to me. It is literally a ripoff of it. And I went into that knowing it, and I just ate it up. It's like a popcorn thriller. One you can just read super fast, super engaging, super like interesting, you know? Okay, so anyway, In it, there's this girl named January Jacobs. She's 6 years old. She's a twin. She ends up getting taken and then found in this ditch like a day later. And so she's murdered in her hometown. And there's this girl named Margot who is the same age as her at the time. And 30 years later, she comes back to that town to move in with her grandfather who's suffering from dementia, and she's a reporter, and another little girl goes missing, and she thinks that they are connected, the January Jacobs case and the Natalie Clark case of the present day, and she's going to try and figure out how they're connected, and of course it'll dredge up old memories. So anyway, I read this book, and then the ending happened. I was vibing. I was like, okay, we're getting somewhere. I think I know what's going to happen. I did not know what was going to happen. And then the ending happened. The ending. And there was 2 parts to it. And there's one part that is extremely ambiguous and makes you just wonder what happened. And if it happens the way I think it is, then I'm going to be extremely upset with this book. In fact, this book is so divisive that people have dropped it from like a 4 or a 5 star to a 2 because of the ending. But because I'm still so riveted by it and I'm still thinking about it, like I'm literally still thinking about it right now, like a day later, I just can't stop thinking about that ending. I have to give it a higher rating. And so I gave it a 5 stars because it blew my mind. It was just so good. And I know that people are going to not agree with me, but some people are. And so if you're here for just a very wild, crazy book review, then this is the book for you. So yeah, that was it. It was crazy. It was a time. And I can't. I still can't think about it. Like, if you've read this book, please reach out to me so we can talk about it, because I need to talk to more people about this ending. I really do. But it was great. I loved it. It's everything I could ever want or more. And that is that. All right. I will update you with the next book that I read in this vlog. Okay, hi. Hello. It is May 4th. Sorry. May the 4th be with you. Sorry if you hear the air, but it is hot as heck in our house, and so I just have to let the air be blowing, but I will try to be louder than this. I have a 2-book update for you, and so I'm going to update you on my reading experience for Astrid Parker Doesn't Fail, and then also for The Serpent and the Wings of Night by Carissa Broadbent. And so we'll start with Astrid Parker Doesn't Fail. This is, if you don't know, this is the 2nd book in a 3-book trilogy about these 3 friends in Bright Falls. And the first one was Delilah Green Doesn't Care, which I gave a 5 stars, and it was one of my top books of 2022. It was the only romance that made it up there. And then this is the sequel. And then the 3rd one is Iris Kelly Doesn't Date, I think. And that one comes out in November. And so I'm definitely going to be reading that. This one came out in November of last year. This was in my anticipated reads vlog that should already have been up by the time you're seeing this. So I'm not going to really gush and talk about what this one was about. But it just follows one of our main characters from the first book. It's her love story in this one, and like they're all queer love stories. And so this one, she's actually coming out as becoming queer and bisexual in this one. And I gave this one a 4 stars. So it didn't slap nearly as hard as Delilah Green Doesn't Care. I don't know. That book was just a magical time. Maybe I was in the right frame of mind for this. Like, I was loving this book as I was reading it, but I also was finding myself going, okay, I want to be done with this because I really want to move on to, like, The Serpent and the Wings of Night and other books that were, like, clearly more appealing to me than this. But I still really enjoyed this. I loved the romance in this. I love the way that Ashley Herring Blake writes her characters. I had a great time with it. There was nothing about this that, like, was bad. It just didn't give me that same 5-star feeling that Delilah Green did. And so, I don't know, maybe it's because Astrid was my least favorite out of all of the characters. Like, I didn't like her as much as I liked Iris and Delilah and Claire. I don't know, maybe it was that and that contributed to this. But it is still a fantastic book. I would recommend this whole trilogy as a whole, even though I haven't read the 3rd one yet because it hasn't come out yet. But this is just so cute, so good, and I'm very glad that I read it. But like I said, if you want to see my more in-depth thoughts, check out the anticipated romance and thriller reads vlog that I did earlier this month. And then let's talk about the elephant in the room, and that is The Serpent and the Wings of Night by Carissa Broadbent, aka my favorite book of this year, aka my favorite book possibly of all time, aka I loved this book. And I'm not going to go into high detail about this because I had an entire Romantasy, which is a fantasy romance vlog that has come out already, where I read this and Fourth Wing and other fantasy romance books, and I gushed about this for like a solid 6 minutes. Like, I just ranted and raved about how much I loved this book. But I will say in this wrap-up vlog that you should read this book. It is the first in a 6-book duology series. So like it's like 2 books, 2 books, and 2 books that like follow different characters or different houses of vampires. So this is a vampire fantasy romance. And this one follows Aurea and Rain. Rain is our vampire, Aurea is human. And this is their love story while battling in this competition called the Kajuri, which is basically like winner takes all, kind of like Hunger Games-esque, where everybody competes and only one person can make it out alive. This book was fantastic. Her writing style is great. The story was great. It wasn't too in-depth on the world building. It wasn't too in-depth on any of that. Like, I really understood what was happening throughout this entire book, and I'm so glad that I read it. Like I said, if you want to hear my really, really in-depth thoughts, then please go and check this out. I would say that this surprised me because I had a feeling I was going to love it, but I didn't know I was going to like be obsessed with it to the point where I make it my whole personality and my whole brand. And now you're going to hear me gush and talk about this all the time, just like I did with other people's clothes. Like, this will be the book that I recommend to people. And I don't care if you're a fantasy romance reader or a girly or not. You're going to be one because you got to read this. So if this wasn't on your TBR, you should put it on there. That's what I'm saying. And that is my wrap up for Serpent and the Wings of Night. So I will see you when I see you for another update. Hello. It was a nice day out, so I was sitting on my porch to really just finish this update. But I read Throne of Glass this month, and it was a 5-star. So if you don't know, I am currently reading the Throne of Glass series for the first time. Yes, I know I'm very behind on life, but it is what it is. And I read Assassin's Blade first. Oh, there's my pets. I read Assassin's Blade first, and then I read Throne of Glass, and this was fabulous. Selena Sardathian is just simply a badass, and I'm loving this. However, she's in a love triangle, and I don't know which of the people I am more for. Whether I am more Team Kale or Team Dorian, and I'm sure one of them is going to F up in the next book and going to make me be mad at them. But it is what it is. But if you don't know what this series is about, it's about a girl named Selena Sardathian, and she is a 17-year-old assassin, and basically in this beginning of this book, she has been captured. And she is having to fight for her freedom. Basically, she has to compete in this competition, and if she beats everybody, then she will earn her freedom and be the king's assassin, but if she doesn't, then she'll die, because it's like a Hunger Games end-all be-all type deal. And I just loved it. It is very much YA, but like I said, I'm ready to see what happens with the romance. I can't wait to read the next book. I'm currently going to read it in a month because I'm doing a readathon with all my friends for Besties Book Club. And that's the update for this one. I did finish What Lies in the Woods. And so, let's talk about this book. This book ended up just being a 3-star for me. Why? Because, well, I knew what the case was, and honestly, that kind of deterred it for me. And also, I just wasn't really impressed, and I feel like the ending was a little bit convoluted. Right, bud?
Yeah.
Alright, out of the way, though. I thought it was a little convoluted. I did guess one twist. I didn't guess the other twist. However, I wasn't particularly, like, I don't know, impressed by the other twists, unfortunately. So it just kind of was what it was. But it wasn't that great. So, I mean, it was an okay thriller. But also, I'm like, can people just be creative and not steal from, like, true crimes that actually happened? Like, can you come up with your own stuff? Because that's the second book this week that has stolen from a major true crime. Hello, friends. I'm trying to, like, mix up my angles as I come to you with all of these vlog updates. But I finished Someone Had to Do It by Amber and Danielle Brown. And I read that one solely because a lot of people in Haley Hughes' Discord and, like, Patreon were reading it and saying how good it was. And I had to jump on board that train. And I agree. It was a 5-star book. It was a fabulous debut novel for these two sisters. And so I cannot wait to see what they come out with next. But it was so good. So it just follows this girl named Brandy. And she wants to get higher up in the fashion industry world. And so she tries to get an internship with this really big mogul boss. But his daughter is kind of like a hoity-toity, snotty bitch who apparently, like, likes her boyfriend. Like, they have a past. Anyway, she ends up going to a party to meet her dad, and the girl, Taylor, the daughter, ends up saying something, like, pretty bad, and Brandy overhears it, and so Taylor tries to pay her off to, like, get her to not talk about it, and then it's just basically Taylor being like, well, how am I going to take this girl down if she's not going to take the money, and Brandy trying to, like, build up her fashion career, and it intersects in the middle, and it is so good. I absolutely loved it. I had so much fun with it. I read it in like a day. It was not very suspenseful thriller. Like, you pretty much know what's happening the entire time. There was one twist at the end that got me, and I was not expecting that. But it's not like, if you're looking for one that, like, you want to really be on the edge of your seat, this is not that. This was just a fun, well-written thriller. And what I liked about it is how they really topical the issues of racism and inequality in the workplace. I thought they did a fabulous job on commentary for that, and I really loved it. And it was just a breath of fresh air. I had so much fun with it, and I highly, highly recommend it. I finished reading Fourth Wing, and this is a 5-star. I loved it just as much as Serpent and the Wings of Night, but I loved Serpent and the Wings of Night a little bit more. All that I really want to say about this book is that it's very dragon intense. The dragons can talk to the people. That's something you find out early on. The whole like lore about the dragons and the world building and like how the dragons are bonded to their riders and like how the powers that like get bestowed upon the riders and all that was like really cool. And it was never too much where it felt like I didn't understand what was going on. This book was just beautiful. And the romance, when it finally kicked in, was super steamy and everything that I wanted. And Xaden is like the perfect book boyfriend. And I am just so happy that I read this book. Honestly, I'm so glad I read this. And I cannot wait for the sequel to come out in November. And I'm going to get it the day it comes out. And I hope it also has sprayed edges because this is beautiful. No, I don't have to dust jacket right now. But it was fantastic. And I loved my entire reading experience with this. Hello friends, I'm in my son's bedroom because my son is asleep on the couch and my office is a complete mess and I couldn't sit in my chair. But I wanted to do my update on Good Girl's Guide, not Good Girl's Guide to Murder, 5 Survive by Holly Jackson. I know she also wrote Good Girl's Guide to Murder. I have not read that yet, but I have read 5 Survive. I was going to do a vlog on it and then I just totally failed on that. I was going to do the whole read it in 8 hours thing like the book is and that did not happen. But I gave this a 4 stars. So, this was a pretty good book overall. I will say, Oliver, one of the characters in this, I wanted to kill. I just hated it so much. But this was a fun read. It was really quick and easy to do. I was not expecting the twists at the end. It was kind of like a double twist at the end, and I was not expecting it. Like, will I say that this is, like, memorable? And then I'm going to remember this from here on out? No. But it definitely made me interested in picking up A Good Girl's Guide to Murder that much sooner because I had a great time with this. And I know she's a YA author, but this was, like, pretty good. So if you don't know what this one is about, it's about a group of friends that are, like, going on a trip and their RV breaks down in the middle of the woods and you find out that, like, that was planned and, like, someone's trying to kill them because one of them ends up dead, obviously, because it's called 5 Survive. So, yeah, I really, really liked it. I don't have much to say on it because, like, I don't know. I had a good time with it, and that's all I'm going to say. If you're thinking about picking it up, you can pick it up, but it was a good time. Right. Hello, friends. I am updating on 2 books at the same time, and technically I read them at my parents' house, but I am home from my parents' house. It is the next day after I got home, and I just didn't pick up the camera to vlog, so I'm going to talk about 2. One that I loved and one that I hated. So let's start with the one that I loved. I read the novella 6 Scorched Roses by Carissa Broadbent, which is the book that she recommends you read in between The Serpent and the Wings of Night and The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King, which I own and I have not read that yet. I am prioritizing that very soon. But I read 6 Scorched Roses. And so that one is basically about this girl. Don't quote me on names. I don't remember names ever. And it's about this girl, and her town is being affected by this terrible plague that is, like, killing everybody, killing the town, and, like, it starts to make you, like, basically disintegrate and wither away to nothing, and her sister is, like, starting to struggle from this curse, and she's starting to struggle from this curse. And so she decides that she wants to break it, and she thinks the way to break it is by using vampire blood. And so she finds this vampire and she asks him if she can, like, take different vials of his blood, like, once a month for 6 months. And he agrees to it because she's going to give him this, like, rose in exchange. And so it's, like, 6 months of, like, them exchanging blood and her saving her town and also falling in love with a vampire. And it was a beautiful book. It was, like, 150 pages and I felt like the whole story, like, I could have taken 300 pages of it. It was so good. It was kind of like a Beauty and Beast retelling in the sense. And I loved it. I recommend if you want to get started with Carissa Broadbent, but you're not sure if she's for you, then you should check that one out because it was beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. I cannot talk about it enough. It's one of my favorite reads of the month. It was so good. I really love Carissa Broadbent. Like, I'm just saying. And then let's talk about one that I didn't love. And it's so sad because it has a beautiful cover, friends. And that is just like Home by Sarah Gailey. Why? Why? I loved The Echo Wife, and I don't love this. It started out really boring. I was 50% in, and I was dragging my feet on whether I should finish it. And then Haley from Haley Hughes said to keep going. And I did, and I got to the 65% mark, and something happened, and I went, ooh, slay. This is the direction we're headed. I can vibe with this. And then it went downhill from there. And the ending was so god-awful and confusing and just stupid. And I can't get on board with it. I can't. So it slowly went from like a 3 or a 4 down to a little 2. I'm only not giving it a 1 because it wasn't like offensive to me. And I do like Sarah Gailey as a person. But no. I did not like it. Would not recommend. I don't get the hype. I mean, there was no hype. Honestly, I haven't heard that many people say that this book was like a slam dunk for them. So it was not for me, unfortunately. And that's all we're going to say about it because I'm going to probably sell it and it hurts my heart to have to get rid of this pretty book. Hello, friends. Let's talk Legends and Lattes, shall we? Sorry, we're in my car, so you're just going to have to deal with the background noise. Alright, so Legends and Lattes was unfortunately a 3.5-star read for me. I read it this month for our Besties Book Club, which we are no longer doing live shows. I believe we've decided we're just going to be doing Discord discussions. And so if you're in our Besties Book Club, you can look for the Discord underneath here. But anyway, I read it and I was very excited to read it and a little hesitant because it has so much hype. Like literally everybody talks about how like it's the cutest cozy fantasy and like all this stuff. It fell a little flat for me. I'm not gonna lie. And I was really questioning myself when I finished it. Like, is there something wrong with me? Am I just not in the mood for it? Which maybe I wasn't fully in the mood for it. I'm not gonna lie. I didn't really want to read it when I read it. The only reason I read it is because it was the shortest book on my TBR at the moment because it's only like 250 pages. If you count the prequel pages, then it's 280. And I wanted to finish a book for the day. But it is cute. So if you don't know what it's about this orc that decides she doesn't want to be like a bloodthirsty, battling war, crazy orc anymore. And she decides that instead she wants to open a coffee shop. And it's very weird. Like, you don't understand why at first, and then throughout the book you understand. No one really knows what coffee is in her hometown. And so she's having to, like, do that. And she doesn't know how to start this coffee shop. And she's having to ask people for help. And she's meeting all these other creatures. And the problem I had with this book is that, honestly, not much happens within it. Like, really, not much happens. Like, they spend 80 pages trying to build a coffee shop, if we're being honest. I told my friend that the other day and she was cracking up. And then, other than that, there were a lot of words in it that I didn't know what they were. Like, they were, like, old-timey orc battle, like, medieval words. And, like, characters that I didn't know, like a succubus and a ratkin and a gamlin or something like that. I didn't know what any of those words were. And I figured there'd be like a glossary or something to help me. There was no glossary. So it was just not my fave. And I wish that I enjoyed it more. But I didn't hate it. I'm still glad I read it. Will I read the prequel that comes out? Probably. But it was just alright for me. Okay, coming to you with an update on Master of Salt and Bones by Carrie Lake. So I read this as the buzzword challenge word for May because it had to be like a spice or a spice type of word. And so I picked salt. So Master of Salt and Bones, which my library actually, I requested this from them because they didn't have a copy of it. But of course it didn't get here until after I had already read it on Kindle. But alas, here it is in all its glory. It's a very pretty book. However, I'm glad the library got it for me because I probably wouldn't ever want to own it. But I did like it. So this one follows a girl that ends up working as like a caretaker for this very rich man, the Devil of Bone Hill, I believe, for his mother. And he got involved in this tragic accident when he was younger, which has his face very disfigured, hence why he wears a mask most of the time. But it's basically like their love story essentially, and it's just very weird, and it has like this secret society of men in it as well that like are into like sadism and stuff and like torturing people for like pleasure, and it's very weird on that side of the aspect. And his favorite thing is like getting aroused in the wake of death, like if you're almost gonna die. So like he likes being in danger and like almost drowning while he's like, you know, and it's a little weird. However, I gave it a 4-star. I had a really good time with it. It was very good. It was very steamy. It did keep my attention throughout the whole book, but that was just something that I'm just like, that's not really my type of romance. So I probably will still read other books from hers, but that kind of like wasn't my favorite thing. But keep in mind, if you're going to read this, it's like a 550-page book, but I did have a good time with it. I am glad that I read it. And so back to the library it goes, as me being the first person to check it out. All right, my final review for this is a 3.5 star, 3.5. It was not a 5, it wasn't even a 4. So there are 3 characters' perspectives all throughout this book. There is Daisy, obviously. There is Julian, which is her older brother. And then there's Christian, who's like her love interest. And I loved reading from Daisy's point of view. I loved reading from Julian's. And honestly, I didn't get enough of Julian. I could use a whole book on just Julian. I like him so much. I could not stand Christians. And I just feel like if I hated a third of this book, like every time we got to Christians, that I could not justify giving this a 5 or honestly even a 4. Because like that's a whole third of the book that I'm not enjoying. And it was just like, it's just like the same thing over and over. He's just saying the same thing over and over. He's in love with someone else, but he just strings Daisy along. He's in love with someone else, but he kind of likes Daisy, but still strings her along. And it's just like, at the end of 400 pages, you get it, you know? You get it. So that is basically my thoughts about it. And I have finished the block, as you can tell by all of the beautiful tabs, and it was a 5-star. I only started to figure out in like the last 20 pages what this book was about and what the secrets were about. And I finally understand what Lachlan meant when she said it's a mix between like Robin Hood and Fast and Furious and like all this other stuff. So it is a polyamorous relationship, romance, with a bunch of secrets and this brotherhood that she calls the Ravenhood. So anyway, it was very good. I don't know how to explain this book really. Like, you're just gonna have to get through it because I've heard that the sequel, which I'm about to start, is the one that's going to break you and like this is the best of them all. So you just kind of have to get through this one. This one is very nonsensical, as a friend of mine said. And I do agree with it. But I really liked it. It had some good quotes. I loved that I tabbed it. I just ordered more tabs to match this because I knew I was going to run out. And I wanted the tabs to stay the same for the 3 in the series. So I'm very glad that I read this. And I'm excited to move on to the next one. Hello friends, coming at you with another 2-book update. Honestly, because one book I just decided, like, as of, like, I was reading it right now that I'm going to DNF it. So we'll actually talk about that one first. I am DNFing Daughter of the Moon Goddess by Sue Lynn Tan, and I am currently on page 289. So I am almost 60% of the way through with this book. And I can't do it. And I actually just watched Meg from Meg with, or the UK booktuber Meg, who I love. She did a wrapped up book thing on this, and she just read it, and she had the same thoughts that I had. It has really beautiful flowery writing, but like doesn't move the plot forward. The love triangle is not interesting at all. There's like an obvious answer as to who she should be with, so why are we having this love triangle? And it started off really strong, because it did. Like the first 100 pages I was hooked, and then it just got really boring from there, and I just don't really care about what's going on, quite honestly, if we're being honest. And I wanted to push through. I wanted to not right now it, but I'm like, when are you going to read this again? Like, you're just not interested in it. So I let the audiobook go away, and then I lost all interest, and I'm giving up on it, and I'm very sad because I was excited to read it, and it just was not my jam. So I'm going to DNF, and that's okay, and we're gonna live and learn from it. And that's all you can do. But on the other end of that spectrum, I come to you bearing a 4-star read, and this is going to be polarizing as well, because I know there's going to be people out there that say, how the heck did you only give this 4 stars? And that is Happily Placed by Miss Emily Henry. And don't you worry, I'm going to tell you why it was only 4 stars, but it was still fabulous. Nothing's going to beat People We Meet on Vacation for me, though. So the reason that I didn't 100% love this is because of the miscommunication trope. And it was so bad in this. It was bad with her friends and her relationship with her friends. They got in this huge fight that they should never have had because they should have just told each other how they were freaking feeling. And the miscommunication between her and her ex-fiance, Wynn, it was awful. If they had had one freaking conversation, they would not be ex-fiancés and they wouldn't have had to fake date in this book. Like, I'm literally just saying, like, learn how to talk to people. Have open and honest conversations with each other. Don't keep things bottled up. Like, I get it. Like, it had to move the plot forward. But, like, it really angered me that much. I took it down a whole star. Because it's like, if it's so avoidable, I can't vibe with it. But I loved this book. I loved the relationship with her friends. I loved that focus on friendship. I also kind of thought there was a lack of chemistry between Harriet and Wynn in the beginning. Honestly, I didn't really like Wynn until about 100-ish pages in. And yeah, I know that's a hot, polarizing topic as well. Don't you come at me, you Emily Henry stans. I'm not saying I hated this book, because I gave it a 4 stars still. But it's not a 5-star for me. And nothing will beat People We Meet on Vacation, if we're being honest here. Alright friends, let's talk about The Last Word by Taylor Adams. So, I am reading this for a couple of different book clubs for this month. I read it for Gabby's book troop and also for Haley's Pretty Girls book club. This was the book club for choice for both of them. And I absolutely loved this book. It was a 5 stars. It was an extremely fast-paced psychological thriller. Honestly, it gave me the same vibes as The Silent Patient. I was just loving it. I was just eating it up. It was so good. I haven't read a thriller that was like that fast-paced and that keeping me hooked in a long while. And it makes me excited to read No Exit by him. Which, fun fact, I thought Taylor Adams was a girl this whole time until I saw the picture on the back and realized it's a dude. It was a very good book. So this is a story within a story. It's about a girl that is living in this, renting out this isolated like cabin on a beach. And she gives an author a bad review, and then she feels like there's someone in the house, and it could be the author coming to like stalk her because he's pissed that she wrote a bad review. And it was very scary, and it was really, really good as well though. I just had the most fun with this. There was this dog in there, Space Dog. She is the main MYP or MVP. She is fabulous. I love her so very much. And this was just a great time. If you have decided, or if you're on the fence about picking it up, please do so. It was really, really good. Like, I just loved it. And the twists and turns at the end, there were a couple too many for my taste, but like I'm telling you, like this was like a popcorn thriller. You can read this in a day. I'm pretty sure I did read this in a day. I had the best time with it. But in that same vein, let's also talk about a book that I have decided to DNF as of today, and that is The Spite House by Johnny Compton. I got to 70% of this book, and then I had to give it up. And I really only read 40% of it because I could not tell you what happened in the last 30% of this book. I was listening to it solely via audio while I was cleaning and doing other stuff, and I just missed a lot of stuff. I mean, I missed a lot of stuff because when people told me what happened in the end and how all these clues that were in it, I go, wait, what? 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 That happened? Yeah, so I missed a lot. But to be fair, was I gonna love it because Cassandra Caw from Nothing But Blackened Teeth, liked it on the back. I will say, I think it had potential, and I feel bad because this is a debut author, Johnny Compton, and he just looks so cute and so sweet in his cover, but I did not like this. I did not like this Sam I Am. I would not eat this with a hat. I would not eat it on a rat. I would not do it. So I just... And there were way too many perspectives. That was the thing that killed me. There was like 10 different perspectives in this book, and I could not keep up with all of them, and I could not remember who was who, nor did I care to keep up with who was who. It was just really killing me, if we're being honest here. I have finished Indigo Ridge by Daphne Perry, and I give it a 4 stars. I will say, this was not actually that smutty. Like, there was smut in it. There was like 1 or 2 sex scenes, but they were not like what I was expecting. I thought this author was going to be a very smutty author, and maybe this series is just not really the series for that. But like from the very first like time they get together, like that was a closed door scene. I don't know. It was fine. The romantic suspense part was fine. I did like the couple. I didn't really buy their chemistry for like the first half of the book, but I liked them more towards the end. And like the killer I was not expecting. So like it was kind of thrillery, kind of also romantic at the same time. But it was still really good. It was dual perspective, and I liked the audiobook because you got to hear from both people. So you heard from Winslow and you heard from Griffin, and I liked the audiobook for that. And I flew through this really quick. Like, it was really a really quick and easy read. So we finished The Coven by Harper L. Woods, and I gave it a 5 stars. I really enjoyed it. I really loved all of the lore about like the witches and how everything came to be. And there was a twist at the end that I was not expecting, and I don't know how I feel about it. But I am going to continue to the second book, which comes out in August. And I probably will buy a physical copy of this because I really did enjoy it and I want to reread it again. And I might annotate for like the lore and all that. But I love Willow. But I will say, if you're looking for like a fun witchy fantasy romance that has like a lot of like backstory and like world building and things like that, I would definitely recommend it. And I have finished Hooked by Emily McIntyre. And my thoughts are, it is a 4 stars. I absolutely loved it. The romance portion really kicked in towards the second half of the book. Actually, the only reason that this is not a 5 is like, it's not going to be one that like I think about for eternity after this. Like, I'll probably forget about it in a couple of months, but I had a really great time with it, and I definitely enjoyed my experience while I was reading it. So it would get a 4 star. I really liked the way that she changed the like story, but like still had the main characters, and like it still felt very Peter Pan-y. I really, really enjoyed it. And I love how it ended at the end. Of course, I've always loved Captain Hook. Like, Hook was my favorite on Once Upon a Time, which I'm actually rewatching right now, and it is just everything that I needed and more. Like, I didn't realize I wanted to watch that much. But I had a fabulous time reading Hooked. All right, hello. It is currently May 30th, and we are almost done with this wrap-up vlog style, and I just finished Still Beating by Jennifer Hartman, which I read, oh my gosh, as part of the 72 Hours in the Smut Den. This was my final book, and this is a very dark romance, basically about these two people, that girl and her future brother-in-law, they hate each other, and they are kidnapped together by this guy who calls himself the matchmaker, and basically his goal is to get two people that don't like each other or are not romantically involved, torturing them together until they end up falling in love, and then he kills them. And so the first half follows that portion, and then the second half follows them escaping and having to come back to like life and dealing with the trauma that goes with that. If you want to see my more in-depth thoughts, definitely go check out the vlog that I released on 72 Hours in the Smut Den. That should have been the video right before this. But I loved it. It was 5 stars. It's going to be one of my favorite reads of the year. I'm having a fantastic reading month. Like I feel like I keep saying, this is my top of the year. This is my top of the year. May is just a banging month, as you can see, if you saw from my stats. So I'm very excited that I read this. I can't wait to read Lattes by Jennifer Hartman and just continue on reading with her books. I know she came out with this duology earlier this year. Can't wait to read that. I'm just living my best life out here on these streets. Hello, we have finished House of Hollow in Time to Return It with the audiobook. And I'm going to give this 4 stars. I was going to give it 3.5 stars, but honestly, I really enjoyed this book. I honestly did. I had so much fun with this book. The writing was so good. Is it going to be like a favorite of the year? No, probably not. But I loved it. But I will say, it is a young adult book. And I don't think it should be, because there is some dark stuff in this book. But I loved it. I had a great time with it. I thought it was really good overall. And I loved the sister dynamics and the whole relationship. And I loved how one of the boyfriend was like, ended up being like a helper in this. It was just so good. I literally had the best time with this. And that is my May wrap up. Let me know in the comments down below if you liked this vlog style wrap up. But like I said, I had an amazing month. Serpent and the Wings of Night is my favorite book, probably of all time now at this point. It might even beat out Other People's Clothes. I loved it that much. I loved Fourth Wing, and I read those back to back, y'all. Like, that was fabulous. Scorched Roses was freaking fabulous. Someone Had to Do It was spectacular. Flock was like fabulous. Still Beating, like I tell you, I had a fantastic reading month. I really, really did. I did. And I'm so glad that I did. And I can't wait to already go into June with that. I've already had 2 5-star reads to start off June. So we are just rocking and rolling. I'm having the best time of my life. All right. But let me know if this vlog style worked for you. Let me know what your favorite book was in May. I would love to know. And like any book that I should prioritize. Because if it's a 5-star to you, it might be a 5-star to me. And with that, I'll catch you guys in the next video. Bye.